energy and whether it is safe. In that regard, Angela Merkel, PhD Physics, University of Leipzig, and current Chancellor of Germany, is shutting down all nuclear reactors because of the Fukushima accident, which might be one of the only good things she did. Let's not forget that they profited off the destruction of Germany, off of Greece, excuse me, and they're allowing refugees to literally destroy Europe. Because they're not going to stay in Germany, they're going to migrate everywhere, and the small percentage of them that want to hurt people are going to hurt all of Europe. In this incident, Merkel is, however, 110% correct. Germany favors renewable sources of energy like solar and wind. Meanwhile, Japan's Prime Minister Abe, a graduate in political science from Sekai University, is reopening power plants as quickly as possible, proving that politics override science. And that's so true. We know what these things do, and the very nation that brought this poison upon the world is opening up power plants again. The trouble with this is how many of you, I shouldn't be rocket scientist to many people here to find out that in fact an earthquake's created Japan. They're in an earthquake zone by their very existence, and they are building nuclear power plants. And opening nuclear power plants. I do believe they're still building one as well. In stark contrast to German Chancellor's take on nuclear power, the pro-nuke crowd claims highly radioactive water, which has been flowing into the Fukushima complex like crazy for 4 years straight, becomes so diluted within the vastness of the Pacific Ocean that there is nothing to worry about. But their cleverness merely prompts a raised eyebrow, the rock, amongst people who closely follow the Fukushima scenario, like us. We can see the fish, okay? We know that it's not global warming. We already covered why, even if global warming was happening, that's not what causes this. We've already shown you the science for that. We know what's causing this. As it happens, buried within Fukushima's complexity, the public encounters an enigma, as expressed by Dr. Baverstock. I'm really appalled at the way that the international system has failed. Now, let's trust the UN, shall we? Quite frankly, we don't get anything through the media. There is no general understanding of the situation here in Europe because the media are not putting this view forward. In fact, I think many people would be very surprised that it was still a matter of discussion. They would be even more surprised to learn that it is still an ongoing accident and that it hasn't terminated yet. And they could be more surprised to learn that nobody knows how to stop it. Do you understand that? This is not an accident that is contained. The reason that you're not hearing that in more places, and now that you're hearing it here, make sure you hit share. The reason that you are not hearing the science in more places is because there's big money tied in with General Electric. There's big money tied into the nuke industry. And there's big money tied into the lie that is global warming to keep all of this going. And they're hiding it from you. Excuse me, I'm giving you all the science that you need here. Source after source, fact cam to show that I'm not making it up. The drama behind Japan, it says, enacting a state secrecy law in the immediate wake of nuclear meltdown, only serves to highlight suspicions about how bad the situation really is. If not for Japan passing an unconstitutional secrecy law, which is the new secrecy law that violates Japan's constitution, which allowing politicians carte blanche authority to determine what's the state secret and what isn't. If you factually report on it, you can literally be breaking the law there. So make sure my video gets to people in Japan. Anybody that can prove to me that you got this to somebody in Japan, I'll promote your favorite charity for a week. I don't care what they say. They can go to hell if they don't like it. In fact, information about the meltdown is controlled via biased sources. And you can get their video to me because the show's not big enough for them to be able to pick me up on their radar. According to Dr. Baverstock, it is imperative that the IAEA to have its role clarified. It cannot continue to be the promoter of nuclear power and the organization that is involved for safety. In other words, they get to be the one that okays it and the one that makes money from it. The failure of the IAEA to respond in this particular instance is a very good ammunition to move towards getting that view heard at the UN General Assembly. According to Baverstock, there is an urgent need for proper risk assessment of Fukushima, and he believes that there should be pressure to get that achieved by an independent organization, all of which must be taken up worldwide forum like the UN. After all, by default, the international community is involved wherever and whenever the world at large is exposed to dangerous radiation. How could it be any other way? Reprehensibly, for example, maybe Fukushima. It says, after all, a mysterious apathy surrounds the events at Fukushima. Nobody cares, right? Who cares? Eerily, the ongoing nuclear meltdown, which is as hot as a pistol, has been relegated to second fiddle status in the public eye. In turn, a vacuum of transparency leads to all sorts of conspiratorial theories, inundating the internet with serving to radicalize the opinion. In other words, hiding it from you, keeping it down, keeping it down. Well, let me ask you something. When nuclear fuel melts down, it becomes a rather unattractive blob known as corium. Where is the corium? It says corium is a lava-like radioactive hot molten mix of nuclear reactor core formed during a meltdown. The corium is missing at Fukushima Daiichi Nuclear Power Plant number 2. Why didn't you hear about this? Maybe because they want to make sure that the 2020 Olympics at Tokyo happens without a hitch. How about that? Nobody knows where the corium is. Nobody. Nobody knows. Better yet, or rather worse yet, finding number 2's melted core is an ongoing challenge of enormous, humongous proportions. Kind of like hovering on the edge of a black hole. So what's next? As the situation now stands, if the corium leaked or leaks into the ground beneath the reactor's final containment in still vessel, which is also cement, nobody really knows what happens if that happens, because it's never happened before. But the smell test says that it can't be good. In fact, it's got to be awful, really awful, and deadly, out of control, impossible to stop kind of awful. Let me show you how this would work. Let's say that you have right here, this water is nuclear fuel. And if you were to take this right here, let me make sure my low def people can see it too. If you were to take this basket and say that it's your containment vessel. Now let's pretend it's solid. It's not, but let's go with it. If this melts through and starts to leak, this, which is made out of steel and concrete, in theory, will prevent it from leaking through. Well, in instances as severe as Fukushima, we have at least 2, possibly 4 of these. One of them may have just blown out, that have leaked below this. And now it is flowing into the earth, which is the groundwater. Look at the China syndrome. This has ramifications of poison for the entire world. Just tragically, nobody knows what to do. They really don't. Sources claim possibly happens when a nuclear meltdown hits pay dirt, immersing into the earth. Some isotopes uncontrollably spread erratically. For example, cesium-137, which is deadly toxic to all life forms, and only one of many dangerous isotopes, is water soluble and makes its way into soils and waters and quickly becomes ubiquitous into the ecosystem. When that happens, ubiquitous into the ecosystem means you consume it without knowing it. Therefore, after assuming a situation similar to Chernobyl, an exclusion zone is established to keep everybody out due to the excessive radiation. But questions like how big the exclusion zone should be and how prolific the underground hot radioactive corium reacts, nobody knows the answer to that either. Nevertheless, good old honest Abe in Japan wants to open up the nuclear reactors again. Friends, I've got 3 stories to get to, 4 stories, so do not zone out on me, please. Stay with me. I've got more science, more things that you need to know, including my very R-rated rant against the bunk science. But before I do, I want to invite everyone to go to stickerjunkie.com. Right here, Sticker Junkie. Why? Because when you go to stickerjunkie.com and type in the correct views, or correct views, either one, you're going to get a discount on your stickers. Your stickers are going to look amazing. Give them a design, Guaranteed. You'll get a design back that looks exactly like it. If you're not really sure what you want, contact them. Let them know you heard about it on The Correct Views. Ask to talk to David Lake if you want. Give them an idea what you're looking for. There's ways to do that online too. Give them an idea what you're looking for. You will be thrilled with these stickers that you get. I promise you. Sticker Junkie. Friends, this is brought to you by Mike McLaughlin, MacLauglin. You can find him on Facebook.com. He's a writer, he's a poet, he writes horror vampire stories. He's also excellent at political rants. Mike McLaughlin. Washington's blog, Giant Utilities Tried to Kill Solar Power. Now this is another story for all of my greeny weenie friends. You keep saying you care so much about the environment. You care so much about the environment. Well, here's a look at some of the people that are stopping not only the closing of nuclear power plants, which I would like to see, but coal. Coal isn't going to be shut down either while this is going on. So even though I don't believe that we're warming the planet, there are some very strong points here that we all agree on. It says one of the main reasons solar energy is growing so fast in California is net metering, i.e. credit rooftop solar users for surplus power to their systems, which is fed back into the grid to use by other consumers. Basically what that means is you take and you get a certain amount of money back because you have solar use. It's how they sell it to you. It says currently rooftop solar owners are credited at the same rate that they would pay the utility for electricity. They're getting money back for helping the environment, right? Not only is net metering a huge incentive to buy solar panels, but it's part of a wave of decentralized energy productions which could help solve or protect against terrorism, fascism, and the destruction of our health and environment and the economy. There's a link on as to how that works. It says the giant California utilities, I'm talking about PG&E, Southern California Energy, and San Diego Gas and Electric, are determined to kill net metering because it cuts into the profitability of their centralized energy production. In other words, what they're going to do is try to charge the people or pay them less or even give them a fee to have what was sold to them as a way to save money. What this is going to do is make people like me say, go to hell, I'm not even going to buy the solar thing to begin with, there's no money to be saved at it. That is what us and the greeny weenies agree on. This is insane. Los Angeles Times. For new purchases of rooftop solar, the utility proposals could wipe out the potential savings on power, the main incentive for buying the systems. Lynn Rive, chief executive of Solar City, describes a catastrophic future for rooftop solar if the California Public Utilities Commission approves the proposals. In other words, in California, you're about to be charged for the sun. Utility proposals call for crediting solar users at about half the current rates. Utilities would also charge monthly fees based on the size of the homeowner's solar system. The proposed fees could make solar power systems unprofitable, which is exactly what the utilities want. In other words, you were promised to save money when you put these things in, and now you're not going to save anything at all in any way, shape, manner, or form. You were completely lied to. It said it's very clear the utilities are concerned about the impact of their business with customers generating their own electricity, and they're pushing back. Do you understand what they're doing there, friends? That's why it's mandatory that you're locked into the electrical grid in most communities, even if you have no intention of using it. That is absolutely wrong. And if more people just stood up and refused to do it, just disconnect from the grid entirely, and that's not possible if you live in the land of ice and snow right now, or at least with the technology we have currently, to do in Ohio. But you could definitely do that in California, and enough people demanded upon it, they will. And again, in some of the communities that always capitulate, like San Fran or Los Angeles, they're always going to just give in to whatever communist Brown wants. But Northern California, they already want to break into their own state and call the state Jefferson. I guarantee you could get a large number of people in the north to go along with that idea. And that would really anger the energy companies. And if they don't like it, leave. Make your own state. Make your own rules. Make your own government and governor. I'm in favor of it. DailyCaller.com. Democrats, ISIS strategy is to fight global warming. If there's anything to learn at all as we move on with our Fukushima update, it's that nobody, literally nobody, could possibly be worse for the country than Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders. In that order, but not by much. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders still believes that global warming is the greatest threat to America's national security, rehashing the stance taken by Democratic politicians in recent years that carbon dioxide emissions are more dangerous than terrorists. If you're going to see an increase in drought, in flood, and extreme weather disturbances as a result of climate change, what that means is that people all over the world are going to be fighting over limited natural resources, Sanders told CBS on Face the Nation, doubling down on remarks. So what he's trying to say is that it's going to make it even worse, because we're all fighting for the same resources. ISIS is just fighting for the same resources. No, they're not. ISIS is fighting to start a religious caliphate that has absolutely nothing to do with this. The only reason they're making money is because people are buying their stolen fuel. And the reason that their stolen fuel is being sought after is because you stupid bastards won't let anybody open an oil refinery in America. You are part of the problem, not part of the solution, you dumbass. It says if there was not enough water, if there was not enough land to grow your crops, then you're going to see migrations of people fighting over land. They're not leaving because people don't have anywhere to farm. They're leaving because ISIS is cutting their heads off and raping their family. How much more out of touch can you possibly be? President Barack Obama has said that global warming is the U.S. greatest national security threat. And it's not a coincidence that immediately prior to the civil war in Syria, the country experienced the worst drought on record. Yes, because we all know that ISIS is known for rebelling over the drought that was caused by America. It's on every email they send out when they're recruiting. It's the first thing, right? This has never come up in any ISIS report ever. They're making this up out of whole cloth. There's no sources. I looked it up before. There's nothing to back this up at all. You can only find people reporting on the fact that they said it. There's no science behind it. There's no history behind it. ISIS is not tied to global warming at all. It's not tied to a drought. They live in a desert. They live in a desert. Every year is a drought. What are you talking about? Sanders and other politicians acknowledge terrorism as a major issue that we've got to address today. Because they wouldn't want to drown in a desert. They still name that rising carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuels represent the greatest long-term threat to Americans. Why do you think they walk around in hoods when they're not religiously hiding their skin? Because the sun cooks them. In fact, climate change is directly related to the growth of terrorism, Sanders said during Saturday's debate. And if we do not get our act together and listen to what the scientists, and I've just shown you a million scientists, say otherwise, then you're going to see countries all over the world. This is what the CIA says. They're going to be struggling over limited amounts of water, limited amounts of land to grow their crops. First of all, none of that's going to happen. Second of all, none of that is spurring ISIS. ISIS is not trying to grow food. ISIS will just cut off your damn head and steal your food. Use the thinking part of your brain. Okay, they're not shooting you with guns they made. They're not smart enough or equipped enough to do it. They're shooting you with guns that they've been given or stolen. And they're not doing it because of a drought. Did I mention they live in the desert? They wouldn't even know it was a drought. It said the attack has cast a cloud over the summit. Of course, the French disaster. But environmentalists say the terror attacks have only made it more likely that countries will back the international agreement to cut carbon dioxide emissions. This is an excuse by Obama to get anything on the paper in the paper and on the news except for the fact that ISIS is destroying him. It says global warming driving terrorism. Simply bolstering support for the UN climate treaty misses the point of whether global warming is a driver of violent conflict. The news magazine, if you want to call it that, Time, came to Sanders' defense Sunday, arguing that many academics and national security experts agree that climate change contributes to an uncertain world where terrorism can thrive. If it was happening, it would also lead to thievery among non-Muslims. I promise it would. The two are not related at all. And friends, I got two things to get to. I want to do the dumbdee of the day, and then I want to invite everybody that has virgin ears to tune out, because I'm going to be swearing like a shoreman with a bad back. Friends, the dumbdee of the day. Yes, that's right. We have a dumbdee of the day. Fukushima, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. It's going to be a two-day update. First half today, second half tomorrow, because I've got so much to get to, and I've been going like an hour now. Fukushima news has been both terrible and plentiful. Michael Snyder, end of the American dream. Why did the U.S. launch a nuclear missile that would be visible from L.A. without any warning? I love Michael Snyder, but anybody that would ask this question deserves the dumbdee of the day. We did it because we're in a Cold War with Russia, and they're doing the same kinds of things to us. We covered how they flashed their nuclear submarine plans in our face and showed it to us as if it was something. Oh, it was an error. It was classified. It was not. They were threatening us. It was the government trying to send a message to someone on Saturday night. Just after sunset, an unmanned Trident II nuclear missile was fired from a ballistic missile submarine just off the southern coast of Cali, and that was later identified as the USS Kentucky. It was the absolutely perfect time to attract the attention of millions of people, and they're asking why. I can tell you why. Because, and I'm not in favor of what Obama's doing here, I think it could very easily lead to World War III. But what you're seeing here is if Russia pushes us, gotta push back. Otherwise, we're going to get nuked for sure. So the question as to why that happened, it just floored me when I saw it. But it's a wake-up, friends, because it doesn't matter if a nuclear power plant does it or if a nuclear war does it. If we get poisoned, we're poisoned. You get nuked, you get nuked. There's no undoing it. Indeed. And friends, you're listening to the correct views. If you do not like swearing, tune out. This is where I talk to the average person. You know how you go on YouTube and you can start where a video cuts in on. Give this to somebody that doesn't know anything about global warming. Global warming is a fucking lie. Man is not warming the fucking planet. Man is driving his car and sending carbon into the air, and you know what? It's not warming the fucking planet. It's probably giving you lung cancer, it's probably diminishing your quality of life, and it's probably not healthy to suck on a tailpipe, okay? It is not causing the kinds of problems that they're talking about. It's not warming the planet. For the last 15 fucking years, the planet has cooled. This is scientific fact. We have more ice in the polar regions than has ever been fucking recorded in the entire time that we've been fucking recording it. You hear that plants can't grow in carbon dioxide? Then let me ask you why, when you're driving down the fucking freeway, how many of you see the fucking weeds on the side of the fucking road? They grow all over. They grow faster than the weeds in your front yard when you don't use chemicals. Why? Because they're thriving off of it. Carbon dioxide is what plants breathe, you fucking moron. Daily Sheeple, Joshua Cruz, German scientist, finds evidence that NASA is manipulating climate data. That's called a fucking lie. That's not called manipulating climate data. It's called a fucking lie. German scientist finds evidence that NASA fucking lied. After examining the climate records of 1,153 weather stations around the fucking world, all dating back to 1881, that's even before Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born, Professor Friedrich Karl Ewert has made an interesting discovery. Yeah, the interesting discovery is that NASA fucking lied. The retired geologist and retired computation expert from the University Paderborn, for those of you that think he's a quack, has found evidence of climate data tampering between 2010 and 2012, as you can see on the fucking fact cam, by Goddard Institute of Space Studies, a division of NASA. More proof. You want more fucking proof? Look up ClimateGate. ClimateGate. Look it up in your fucking search engine. There's all kinds of proof that man is not warming the planet. There's more proof that it was lied, and now that's what ClimateGate was about. Now we're seeing it here. You don't believe me? You don't believe ClimateGate? You don't believe the Daily Sheeple? You don't believe this German doctor? Who else? How about Lord Monckton? Okay? Lord Monckton. You don't become a lord if you're a moron. Lord Monckton. Guess what? Man's not warming the fucking planet. When the publicity available, publicly available data has been archived in 2010 and is compared to the data supplied by NASA in 2012, there is a clear difference between the two. The GISS has been retroactively changing past data to make it appear that the planet is warming, especially after the year 1950. In other words, they're saying, well, we got this proof, so we're going to fudge the numbers to make it look like in 1950 this is what it really was. And it wasn't. It's called a fucking lie. In reality, the original data shows that the planet has actually been getting colder throughout the latter half of the 20th fucking century. Overall, 10 different statistical methods have been used to change the climate's trajectory from cooling to warming, also known as a fucking lie. Using the NASA data from the 2010, the surface temperature globally from 1940 until today has fallen 1.110 degrees Celsius. And since 2000, it has fallen since 2000, 0.4233 Celsius. The cooling has hit every continent except Australia, which warmed by 0.6339 since 2000. Well, global warming, it's only hitting Australia. It hates the Australians, probably because of their stupid gun laws. The figures for Europe from 1940 to 2010, using the data from 2010, there was a fucking cooling of 0.5467 degrees Celsius and a cooling of 0.3739 degrees Celsius since 2000. How about that? The original data shows 4 cooling phases and 3 warming phases since 1881, and we're currently in a cooling phase. Since the warming cycles occurred before there was any significant rise in CO2, pause. They have warming data from before the industrial age, before we learn how to manipulate coal the way we do. It warmed more before the Industrial Revolution than it did after. Who was doing it then? What caused it then? We weren't driving cars in 1881. We weren't. I believe in time machines. Did they bring millions of cars back? No, it didn't happen. Absolutely ridiculous. Though this revelation has been announced at a climate conference in 2012, it is only just now reaching the public's awareness. However, somehow I doubt that the climate cult is going to change its tune any fucking